What a new day! Next on the list is Talise Xavier. I met her on Facebook. She lives in Georgia, in Atlanta, and as of the recording of this, was pregnant with her seventh. I'll put her bio at the end of the video for you to read. But in general, just know that she is a powerhouse of womanhood and home birth knowledge. Her birth experiences are a wide range of experiences, including twins and breech and miscarriage. What I'm doing in this video is reviewing her book, Home is Where the Birth Is. And she talks about her experiences with home birth and free birthing, the decisions she's made, and what she's done to make that possible for herself. So let's get into it. So a little heads up about this video. We recorded it on Zoom in 2022, and she was out at a park relying on cellular service. So the audio and video is a little choppy, and I did the best I could with the editing. I apologize. So here we go. I met you on Facebook. Like so many people, we met on the internet.
Right. Yeah. That's become very common these days.
Yeah, it seems like it. But Talise, it looks like on social media that you are pregnant again.
Yes.
Yes, I thought I saw a belly somewhere. I can't remember where. I had to have been Facebook, but
yeah,
maybe a Facebook story or something. Oh, how awesome! Yay!
Yes, I'm at the end of the road now.
I'm really excited to get to talk to an author. Besides my own personal writing, I've never gotten a chance to have an interview with an author about their work.
Yeah.
I'm especially excited that I get to talk to Talise about her experiences, because it's not very common. I'll just admit my bias. Me as a white woman, I don't get the chance to, especially the work that I do, I don't get a chance to hear very many positive stories. More and more Black women are giving birth at home because they've had enough of the stuff that happens in hospitals, including dying. Probably been a little while since I've mentioned in a video that the maternal mortality rate for Black women is 2 to 3 times more than the white population. And of those deaths, 60% of those are preventable.
Right.
So there's work being done to prevent it. Talise, I'm so excited to get to talk to you.
It's such a broad topic. It's easy to get off topic, but still be in the topic.
Exactly. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about this great book. I mean, it's a big, long birth story. I have to start off by saying that white women could really learn an awful lot from Black women about how they live and how they cope with trauma and stress. When I heard that you had a book, I had to read it. I just jumped right on buying it and dove right into it. There's definitely like a full spectrum birth experience in this book. Give me my viewers like a short synopsis of the results of those births.
Yeah, I had my first one was with a midwife and doula, and that was when I was super confident about home birth. I had no experience in it. I didn't really prepare myself. And a lot of times, if you're kind of ignorant about home birth or pregnancy, you don't think that you should prepare for it. It's like the baby's going to come out, which it will if everything's fine, but you can prepare yourself to have a smooth, relaxing, orgasmic, or any other kind of birth that you want. So I didn't really do a lot of preparation for that. And so that birth was kind of like, it was a home birth, but it was still, I would say, really dramatic. It was really dramatic just in terms of my behavior. The pain, I think it could have been prevented if I had done more preparation. So then my next birth, I had a midwife and doula. But this time, I told my midwife about my first birth, and she said, okay, we got to heal from that, because that was a traumatic experience. And if you don't heal from that, then that's going to mess with this one. And so I had to do a lot of healing, crying, reliving the first experience, but also preparation this time to say, okay, I want to do something different. And that was my son. And it was a much better experience. Then I had my twins, which I didn't know I was having twins. This time I was super on top of things. I'm gonna do my hypnobirthing every day. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna do my yoga. I'm gonna do my affirmations. Like every day, I'm gonna stay on top of it. And this birth was like a 180. I remember being in the pool, and I was just like, "Oh wow, it's nothing. It's not hurting." I can feel the waves, the contractions coming, and I was not in pain. And I was like, oh, okay, so it does work. It really works. Putting all these things into practice. Those twins were both free. The first one was Heine first, and the second one was Feet first. She came an hour later. But that was just a complete different experience where I was mentally in charge of my body and what was going on. And so for that one, I only had a doula. So then for my fifth pregnancy, it was me and my husband and our children. And we wanted a midwife, but the one who we wanted wasn't available. And then the other, so then with number 5, it was me, my husband, and all our children. I stayed diligent with all of the things I was supposed to be doing, the relaxing, meditating, yoga, walking. That birth, I was mentally in control as well. Until the very, very end when I screamed her out and all the children ran off. And then my husband had to go get them, she was the only baby I've actually caught because my husband wasn't in there. I was like, well, I can't just leave her in the pool. So I had to get her out of the pool, it was a maturing experience for me because I'd never done that. I've always been kind of squeamish, like, okay, somebody just hand me the baby. But I had to do that with her. And then my last birth, it was me and my husband. My children were there, but they were all asleep. And I think this time I prepared more than I ever had for the postpartum period. So I had meals in the freezer, like lots of different foods. I prepared a lot for that time. And it was me and my husband. It was life flow. It was very calm and relaxing. And she came out really easy. So hopefully the same will happen this time. That was all the experiences. The miscarriage, and I honestly think now that I look back over it, and this is my speculation, but I had a bad yeast infection, and I did the monostat, which I had never done before. But then that same night, I started having cramps, and I ended up having a miscarriage. And I've talked to other women who have said, and I looked it up online, who have said that is a cause of miscarriages. That's my little theory. That was definitely because I had only had my daughter. So that was definitely a experience I had to do a lot of healing from before I got pregnant again. In a weird way, I'm thankful for it so that I'm able to help other women who experience miscarriages as well.
Definitely. I mean, your whole birth experience does that, which is why you wisely wrote a book so that you can share it easily with a lot more women. I'm just so impressed by this. One of my favorite things is the multiple times that you stress the use of being positive and setting aside negative things and preparing yourself to block out negative things. There's so much that can bombard a person that's pregnant, whether it's some war story talking to somebody in the grocery line, which we don't do much of that anymore, do we? Even family stories or TV shows, or so many different ways that during pregnancy you can get bombarded with events that are negative that don't really have anything to do with you. They're not your personal experience. You're not all that likely to have that kind of experience. The majority of births are very successful. I was just real impressed by how much it wasn't just a thing you used during one pregnancy, but it was something you knew to take care of yourself as self-care to do that.
Yeah, that's very important. It's especially in this society, and especially as a Black woman, it's like supposed to be strong, gotta keep pushing, keep going. It's like pregnancy has no importance here in America. It's like, oh, you pregnant. I mean, the most you get is people will hold doors for you or let you skip in line or, use the restroom before them. But after that, it's kind of like, okay, you should be working, even standing up for hours on end. You had a baby, you should get right back to work. It's no reverence. That's the word I'm looking for women who are pregnant. It's just like, you're just like everyone else. Keep it pushing. And that is awful. First of all, you're bringing another human into the world.
Growing that human being.
Right. This is kind of a side note, but I feel the same way about teachers. I used to be a teacher. Teachers are literally shaping the people who are about to be entering into the adult world. And it's like, oh, okay, who cares? You're a teacher. It's like, oh, okay, who cares? You're making a person, so what, make them and move out the way. In fact, I was talking to my husband and I said, what if treat it like you have a lot going on, you're making a person, because mentally people are always still growing. It's a very growing time, not just your baby growing, but you're growing as well. Even if it's your first child or your 10th child, your family dynamics will be changing. So that's something that really needs a lot of attention and love while you're pregnant and after you have the baby.
Definitely. I agree. You even mentioned in your book about how it's important to you to pass on this information to other people who are thinking about having pregnancy in their life. It reminds me of how women folk knowledge was just passed down, like in the 1800s, up to about the 1800s, a little bit beyond that, where it was just common knowledge. You talked about women folk stuff while you're gathering with your girlfriends. We swap stories about menstruation, but not as much about specifically these kinds of experiences. Like I said, I was just so excited to get to read this book. I want to put in a little disclaimer here. I don't give feedback, or some people would call it critique, about what anybody chooses for their birth, because those are intimate decisions and very personal. On page 7 and 73, you talked especially about self-care, and in that you mentioned using community as a tool for that, for self-care. Would you say more about that?
I would stress so much the importance of having a village. I like to say that it didn't take just one person to make a person. It takes two people, and it doesn't just take two people to make a person, because your mother and father are made of all those generations that came before you. There is clearly evident that you need more than one person to take care of a baby, and you need more than two people to take care of a baby. Because especially like you mentioned in the Black community, it's like, yeah, I'm a strong single mother. I can do it all by myself. That whenever I hear that, it makes me so sad because that's not how life is supposed to operate. There's nothing, if you look in nature, there's nothing in nature that exists by itself. If you just look at a tree, it needs sun, rain, nutrients from the soil. That's just three small, big things. That's just a tree. Sure, we're more complex than a tree. We're lucky that we have 9 months to have a baby. So I encourage women to say, utilize this time. If you don't know anyone in your community, connect with people on social media. I've met you on social media. People have moved and they're moving all the time. So you might not be next to your family, or you got issues with your family, whatever. Find people in your neighborhood or online who might live closer than you think, or might know some other people who are in your community. Let's say you don't even want to do that. You got 9 months. Meet some old ladies in the neighborhood who, love holding little babies, or, stuff like that. To save up some money, hire a nanny. Having a child by yourself is like the worst thing ever. I haven't had to experience it, but I don't think any woman should have to experience it. And you're already trying to deal with hormones of having a baby. Then it is a new baby, not getting enough sleep. Even if you're breastfeeding, you still are not getting proper sleep. So you just cannot function properly like that. And so I encourage women, even at your birth, you have 9 months to find a midwife or doula if you want support at your birth. Everybody doesn't need to get a cash payment. Some people take insurance. Some people will barter. Some people will, negotiate, or what can we work out, or this, then, the third, if they see that you're serious about having a birth worker at your birth. And on my website, TaliseHomebirthQueen.com, I have a birth worker directory. So if you don't know any, you can do some research and find you one. That's, to me, is almost important as you eating healthy, working out, and doing yoga and all that stuff while you're pregnant, is making sure you establish a village or a community, or just even one extra person of support when you're pregnant, and especially after you having a baby.
I'm glad it takes 9 months. I can only imagine what the stretch marks would be if it was a 3-month pregnancy. I love that you pointed out that media teaches a bad image or the wrong image of birth, as far as the reality of birth. The top of page 16 is where I saw that. I personally did a couple of videos about that. The reality of birth is so much different than almost every single TV, movie, even apps, sim story apps. Science is showing that people are making reproductive decisions for their future and their life based on entertainment, based on these simulated realities. And it's not even real. I've had conversations with people that said, oh, it's too painful, I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, let me give you some resources first before you make that decision.
Do my best to keep all of my children, my son included, away from births on scenes and TV. I'm steadily turning them off or fast forwarding them or just, muting them. But I don't let them watch that. In addition to that, I'm always showing them home birth videos. So all of them, and my son included, and my littlest one, the 4-year-old, and I'm very particular about that too. I don't just show them just because it's a home birth. I show them the relaxing, the lady just breathe the baby out. I show them those all as much as I can, so that becomes a norm for them. Not only have we watched these shows our whole entire lives, the women we grew up around, the aunties and the grandmas and the friends was all watching those shows. I've had a 7-year-old one time tell me, oh no, it's gonna hurt. And she's 7, but she was staunchly like, yeah, birth hurts, duh. Like, you don't know that? Which is terrible. Oh goodness. It's so much programming. It's like, I just tell women, just stop that immediately. If a birth scene comes on, whether you're pregnant or not, just fast forward it. Because real birth is not like that. They're trying to make money by scaring people. The hospital system is always trying to make money through scare tactics. So it isn't just birth that they're scaring people. It's every other thing. It's like, well, I'm going to scare you to death to make sure that you say, yeah, I got to do that method, when hospitals are new inventions. They haven't even been around that long. And so the whole is going to hurt, and you need this and that and this and that, even though the women are still screaming. So it's not like the hospital scene they're showing, hey, you come to the hospital. My thinking about it, even right now, would say, we would be smarter to say, hey, if you come to the hospital, it's going to be smooth. But they don't do that. They say, well, it's going to be terrifying and scary. So just come on down for your terrifying and scary experience. That's their business. Formula people can't make money off you thinking, that you can breastfeed at home. That cuts out big businesses. And so I just want to encourage women to, look on YouTube. Like 10, 11 years ago, when I had my daughter, there was not a plethora of home birth videos you could watch. Today, you could spend literally all day long watching home birth videos and still have some more for the next day. I just want to encourage women to know there's other alternatives out there. Yes, it's your choice, and I feel like I'm not trying to, make people say, hey, you have to home birth. Hey, do what's best for you and your family, but just be aware that you've explored all of your options.
Informed consent, not just signing a form.
Exactly. Yes. And a lot of times women are not informed. And I think that's another layer of the fear, is that, we don't learn about birth in schools, men or women. So women don't know what's going on. So of course that's terrifying. Doing anything and you don't know what's coming next, then that will be kind of nerve-wracking for you. Like, I don't even know what's happening. But if you know the processes and the stages of birth, then, oh, okay, so I'm in this stage now. This is what usually happens during this. And even women who are like, yeah, I'm a home birth, sometimes their husbands will be like, well, I think you should go to the hospital, because they don't know what's happening. So yeah, and being informed is very important. Not just taking what you've been fed all your life to say, okay, this is just what you're supposed to do. I saw a woman give birth in a car, and the baby was fine. She was fine. And then the dad was still like stressed, like, okay, we still have to get to the hospital. What are you still stressed for now? She's had the baby.
The baby is out.
Baby's out. But he was still like, it was just programming, like, okay, well, we still need to get to the hospital. So yeah, I just want to encourage women to know I'm not the only person out here breastfeeding. There's nothing super special about me. I just educated myself. My mother educated me. Women can, and men should educate themselves about the birth process so that they just know what's going on and be aware. Now, if you do all of that research and you still don't do hospitals, hey, more power to you.
But, well, I had mentioned earlier about what I call the transition phase of pregnancy. And I just wanted to read a little section from your book that's kind of like emphasizing that we need to treat women better when they're pregnant. Pregnant bodies need to be honored and respected for the work that they do every second for 10 lunar months. But still, this is the kind of stuff that they have to put up with. On page 57 here, pregnancy is the best time to enjoy the benefits of public courtesy, from doors being opened, you mentioned that before, and getting to skip ahead in lines, especially for the bathroom. Fortunately, I never encountered a stranger touching my belly, although I have. That's not fun. I guess I always emanated vibes that said, your hands are not welcome here. The asking, what am I having, combined with their guesses of what I'm having, followed by questions of when are you due, and you look like you're about ready to pop, does tend to get old, particularly in the 9th month. That transition, it can be intense. The barrier seems to be coming down further and further for people to be able to have interactions with you. And I love that you named that and identified that for people, that this stuff happens and it's not necessary. It's not nice.
Yes. I had somebody ask me that today. It's a continuous when are you due? And it's just funny because it's like, now what will you do with that information? Nothing. I don't even know you. You're not going to go to a baby store and get me some things because the baby's almost, you're not going to do anything. What are you having? It's either a girl or a boy, ma'am. And if I did know and I told you, you will do nothing with that information either.
It's not useful to you.
It's quite irritating and frustrating, especially when you're close to the end and it's like, you're already thinking about the baby coming enough. And then all the people want to say, when is the baby coming? It's like, when it gets here, ma'am. Especially if it's in the summer like me.
I'm really honored that you're sticking it out in the heat for me to do this interview. In the summer, it's hot. It is hot outside, especially for a pregnant body. But I really appreciate this, Talise. I just had an interview with someone else a couple of weeks ago, and I learned something new about the Black experience in reproductive health that I just didn't know. Is there anything else that you would want to make sure that the general population understood, that not everybody is built the same and all versions are acceptable?
Yes, I agree with that. I think that Black people, but women as well, have a history of saying, oh, they're strong. Oh, that doesn't really hurt them. Oh, they can take it. And that's not accurate at all. And so I encourage Black women to say, okay, if you're going to the doctor in the hospital, try to find somebody who's Black, because then they can tell, oh, okay, no, you really need whatever that you're saying, or pay attention to you. Of course, all doctors should do that anyway. But it's, to me, I feel the same way, like, with the police in a particular neighborhood and you didn't grow up there. So somebody might be joking, but you didn't grow up there. So you think, oh, this person is being serious. And I don't think it's anything wrong with that. People are familiar with who they've grown up with. So in times of seriousness, I think those times should be handled by people who can relate to what's going on, instead of, just leaving it to chance and saying, oh, I hope that this person can understand me. But then it's not a secret, I feel, that a lot of Black women have said, oh, the doctor didn't listen to me, from Venus, or no, Serena Williams, to a lot of celebrities. It's like, well, how many women have to say the doctor didn't listen to me before you say, well, let me find a doctor that is listening to me? Because usually that doesn't happen just out the blue. Right. During the course of that person being your doctor, if you even get the same doctor, which is something else that always baffles me about hospital births. It's like, so you did 9 months with this one doctor, and then and that doctor is not there. And I do have that in the back of my book as well, asking particular questions to be able to say, is this person going to be able to really tune into me when I'm giving birth? You can ask certain questions and present certain scenarios to see their sense of care or their sense of lackadaisicalness about it. If they're really going to be there when it might be an emergency, you need them to be paying attention.
Exactly. Well, I definitely enjoyed reading the book. And I definitely suggest anybody else checking out the book. I'll put information down below. Great read for anybody who just wants to learn what birth is like, or you're planning a birth and would like some positive input about what birth can really be like, because the majority of births are uncomplicated if they aren't messed with, like lay down on your back, let's strap this to your belly. Those are interventions that will alter the natural course of labor. Great information, and I have really enjoyed this interview, and I'm so glad I got to meet you in the animated form, Talise. I really appreciate your time. It is a good book. You did well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And you keep having a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, I loved my time with Talise. So thank you so much, Talise, for your time. I know being a mom of several is a lot of work, in addition to all of the advocacy work that she does. So look forward to more videos coming up. And please, in the meantime, be kind to all your fellow human beings, no matter